In 100 years from now, what stories will they tell about our lockdown in 2020? Grace Packer and Philippa Simon set out to preserve these stories.
Records show that some of Queenscliff's soldiers died in the 1919 deadly Spanish flu epidemic. However, we know very little about how this experience impacted the lives of the borough residents. Over 100 years later, a new pandemic swept through the globe, and Victorians were placed under stay-at-home orders. The Queenscliff Historical Museum was determined to gather stories that portray the everyday lives of locals during the COVID-19 lockdown.
You wake up and you write yourself a list and okay, let's go. And then some days it is hard. Sometimes it's really hard.
I've been really impressed by how much we as an organisation have put emphasis on how we deal with people's mental health. So I guess it's shown me that where we were maybe 10 years ago as a society has shifted.
And I guess the final question is, what has been your biggest learning experience throughout the pandemic? And this can be in relation to your work or to the community or whatever you feel has been the biggest kind of learning experience.
It's incredible how resilient and adaptive people are.
Especially in a time, I think, where there could be so much segregation in people staying inside their own houses and being able to reach them as much. I think it's fantastic that it's been a major focus. We've had stories of neighbours looking out for each other and checking that when people are sleeping in too late and everything like that. Which I think kind of speaks to that change in society, I guess.
Yes, yeah.
It isn't just individuals who have been struggling with the social effects of lockdown. As a region largely supported by tourism, businesses in the borough have faced new, unprecedented challenges.
You've got to reinvent yourself. If you don't reinvent yourself, one, you'll go mad, two, you'll go broke, and three, no one ever will take this building on again.
Retail stores have certainly embraced sort of the e-commerce side of things. So, online sales and working with our local regional tourism body, they've been able to help a lot of the operators adapt and set up their own sort of online shops as well.
Oh, that's great.
Some cafes, and that's certainly a lot of meals, home cooked meals, which they weren't doing beforehand. So ready to go meals, they've done that. Home deliveries, they've added to their sort of portfolio, and obviously, it's pretty much all been takeaway, apart from a short, probably a 3 or 4 week period when we were able to reopen, even though it was a reduced capacity. That takeaway side of things, and I guess that made it a little bit easier when we went into restrictions again. They knew what they were in for. But certainly this second wave from businesses has hurt a lot more, and I think it's my thoughts are that this second time they're just holding on to the money a bit more.
Term, we get students from all over, I suppose Victoria. You get a lot of country schools from, Horsham, Shepparton, where else do they come from? Sort of, I don't know, the other side of the bay, and then also a lot of schools come from Melbourne, and Geelong.
But it has been a totally different year, and I think it's going to continue being different. We won't have any normality for some time.
Despite the challenges that the restrictions brought to the Queenscliff community, many people found joy in slowing down and reconnecting with their creative side.
The younger generations of the Queenscliff community have also been creating beautiful pieces of art. 57% of the local school students surveyed have started a new craft whilst in lockdown.
Together with local businesses, the children's charity Cottage by the Sea has been able to support a new sector of the community throughout the pandemic. The Emergency Food Relief Program provided support for many community members, both in the nourishing food and the conversation held as it was dropped off.
18th of March, we delivered our first meal, and there's a few media articles and everything, but basically the chef was at the supermarket watching all these people clear the shelves and being a little bit crazy, and watching some of the older people kind of just being left out, and thought, oh my God, how are they going to be catered for? And with Queenscliff and Point Lonsdale in particular, it's I can't remember the exact stats, but it's something like 80% of the population are over 80, so we've got a lot of people in need. He automatically thought, well, if we're not going to be able to have kids on board, we still get food donated. We've got a great kitchen. We've got people that can help with that. Why don't we try and deliver some things to the people in need? And we had a really good stockpile of toilet paper as well from all our donations. So all the donations that we had, instead of them going to waste, with Mark's idea was, let's see if we can't get them out into the community.
As the borough slowly reopened after lockdown, many residents felt a renewed sense of appreciation for the natural beauty and supportive community they found themselves living in.
And here, like, the impact hasn't really hit us as much down here. Like, we just have a great lifestyle here. We can go walking around on the beach. We can go and get a takeaway coffee, and it's been pretty easy actually in that respect.
Yeah.
So the locals have really supported us. I mean, we've really looked after them. I'll deliver food to, Point Lonsdale, to Ocean Grove. People will ring up and they'll go, "Oh, are you doing deliveries tonight?" And it's like, "Oh, look, I'll run stuff to you hot at 6:30. So yeah, we've really looked after everyone, and by doing that, they really support you.
We're pretty lucky where we live.
Yeah.
Because people have looked after each other, and they're concerned and making, if you needed something, not so much myself, but as I was saying before, if someone needs help, they'll get it, whether it's from council or from the neighbour or a friend.
For me, it's probably there is more help than you really think there actually is out there, and this is probably the worst part of my life in terms of community well-being, so to speak, in terms of disruption and change. But it's not as bad as what I envisaged it would have been if you had told me 10 years ago that there's going to be lockdowns and all these things happen. I would have pictured it to be worse than it actually is in terms of the help and support that people are willing to have with each other, from conversations across the fence to dropping off excess food, or making phone calls, or just checking in on each other.
We produce this video remotely. For the full report, please visit the Queenscliff Historical Museum.